The Abuja runway, which is now the subject matter, has been designed and built to last for a period of not exceeding 20 years. And the anticipation at the time is that there would be 100,000 passengers per annum on that runway. Your Excellency, this runway has exceeded that lifespan by some 14 odd years. In other words, the runway was constructed in 1982. Your Excellency, because it has extended its lifespan for 14 years, and because it has been being maintained also regularly by the agency that is responsible for it, which is the FAN, Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, over time, through cyclic fatigue and stress that is induced on that only runway that we have here in Abuja, some of the portions of this runway have failed, and they failed completely. So to continue to operate into this airport on this runway, having almost nearly daily incidences at some point, recorded about 17 of them, is totally unsafe, unreasonable, and we have to be alive to our own responsibility and do what is right in our wisdom. However, Your Excellency, like I said during the stakeholders meeting in Abuja here, I did so about 3 times, and also in Abuja, and also with the press, that we do not have a claim to monopoly of wisdom and knowledge. But within everything that we have done, within all the diligence that we could do, we are more than convinced that the action we're taken is the correct action in the interest of safety and in the interest of our country, Nigeria.
Thank you so much for staying with us. That's the Minister of State for Aviation, Mr. Sirika, there explaining to the National Assembly, the Senate, on the issue of the closure of the Abuja airport for 6 weeks. Well, let's take a look at the relationship between the executive and the legislature. The APC won election at the center about 2 years ago, but the party is still trying to sort itself out on several issues, on the issues of policy and the issues of governance. Several issues had come up where the executive is clearly not on the same page with the legislature. Some of the issues that have come up, which the presidency and the executive has passed on to the National Assembly, and clearly the National Assembly at several points had returned them to the presidency. One again will be asking the question, where the executive majorly of the APC and the National Assembly dominated by the APC, what exactly is happening in the party? Mr. Kayode Okwefa, a member of the APC and a former commissioner in Lagos, has been talking to us on the program. And now we take a look and see has the issue and the reconciliation is happening in the Southwest. One will be wondering what exactly is happening to your party at the center. You see a lot of policies where you would think that at a critical point in time, as a nation, where policies from the executive is being passed on to the National Assembly, there are a lot of disagreement as if, though, they're not in the same party.
Thank you very much. Let me say again that between the executive and the legislatives, the best situation you want to see is a perfect situation where things work as if there are no issues or differences. Unfortunately, the Constitution is not structured in that way, that everything will be perfect. The Constitution is structured in such a way that each has its own authority. And the legislature has an oversight function over the executive, representing the interest of the electorate from their own constituency. Now, what you call crisis again, I will moderate it. It's not crisis. These are issues. And they are expected in any democratic, presidential, democratic, even parliamentary democratic system. We are going to have, you have 3 senators from 36 states, plus 1 from Abuja, sitting in a chamber, and you expect all the senators to have the same kind of thinking on an issue coming from the executive? Definitely not.
Definitely not. I know what we're talking about. Mr. Okwefa, because a lot of thinking is that, the APC came with a change agenda, and one would think that the party will, politically, of course, sit with the caucus of the National Assembly and the executive to be able to fine-tune some of their policies.
Can you let me explain this very well? Now, what you will see is that I agree with you. The relationship between the executive arm and the legislative arm under the current dispensation doesn't look as smooth as is expected.
It's not smooth.
Wait, I won't use the word "is not smooth." I will say it doesn't look as smooth as is expected when you have the same party controlling both executive and the legislature. But go back in time to Nigerian history, and that is where I will bring you to the issue of change. Even during the Obasanjo tenure, his first term, the BDP has majority in that Senate. Yet they have to remove the Senate president.
Ewerem
was removed for Caribou. And beyond that, the first time we had someone completing a complete term, maybe was David Mark. The same thing in the House of Reps. So we have an history of this crisis.
Because one of the things that one will be wondering is that what happened during the David Mark and Jonathan, the synergy we saw.
That is where I'm going.
I mean, the APC could have copied and pasted it.
No, you don't copy and paste.
For progress.
No, sorry, you don't copy and paste everything, but you learn from that situation.
That's what the APC has really not learned from that experience.
Sorry. Let me learn. Now, what you have seen now, it needs to get better. And I believe with what you have seen in the last 48, 72 hours, things will start getting better. The problem started at the point of the election of the Senate, of the leadership of the National Assembly. And the party could not quickly take control of that situation and move on. Unfortunately, that happened. Subsequently, everybody has learned its own lesson. And situation is now improving. Now, what I will expect to see is more of the executive shifting ground to make more meetings with the leadership of the national. That's what you see.
Let's take the issue of the budget, for example. Yeah. We saw what happened in 2016 on the 2016 budget, and in 2016, it was perhaps some of the most embarrassing situation that we have ever seen, where the budget had to be returned to the president. It got to a point there was a missing budget. It got to a point there was a padded budget. And it got to a point in time, it got to a head when a member of the House of Representatives from the same APC said there is high level of corruption in that budget process.
Sure.
I'm looking at 2017. Do you think that anything has changed?
Sure. I came on this program on the 2016 budget, and I told you it's not different from what you see in some other climes. Now, what the impression we have is that when the budget gets to the assembly, it comes out clean. It may not. I was in the executive for 8 years, and I know I appeared before the State House of Assembly 8 times. There was never a time you go to the assembly and you think you're just going to have a say through. Now, the issue of missing budget, I want to go back to this because we need to clear it. There was the case of a missing budget in the press. The assembly came up, National Assembly came up, presidency came up and said there was no missing budget. So I don't know of missing budget.
No, they said there was a missing budget, that the budget was empty.
Empty is different from missing.
Not that in fact, there were insinuations that what was submitted on that day, perhaps there was nothing there about.
To the recollection of between the two of them, they said there was no missing budget.
The House of Reps said there was not. The Senate said there was.
Okay, whichever is right. Let's move on. Now, the main issue I want to make here is this. When the budget comes back to, I've gone through the history of budget system in the last 8 years. There was never any budget passed or signed into law earlier than February. And there was only one in the last 5 years. All were signed in April, May.
Okay.
So we have let me learn. We have a problem. Now, and Jonathan government returned budget to the House 3 times after it has been passed for the House to review it. It is nothing strange. Now, Obama government had a shutdown twice in 8 years on budget, and had a budget crisis 4 times in 8 years. It is not unexpected. What should be is that it shouldn't get to the point of rancor It shouldn't delay the workings of government. But in America, we have seen government shut down twice in 8 years. So I'm just saying this so that Nigerians can get to know.
Do you think that 2017 budget will be a better one?
I see a better sign, and I will explain it.
You've probably seen that they've learned, because we don't have time. I just wanted to close now and tell us, is there any change in the 2017 budget that we've seen in comparison to 2016?
Now, both sides, the National Assembly, the Senate, the reps, and the presidency have learned their lesson. Now, I'm more optimistic with the Director General of the Budget. That is Bernard Kabwe. He has done this for 8 years in Lagos, and I see that this time around, he will be able to guide the system, and we should be able to have an easy passage of the budget.
We hope so. Thank you so much, Mr. Kade Okpefa, for coming on the program. Many thanks for being a part of the program. On behalf of the team, I'm Sean Kimale. Bye for now.